Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about these two different small block Chevy intakes and what they mean to me and the reason why I'm swapping them out. So if you ever watched any of the previous videos, you'll see that I already had this motor together at one point. One of the problems that I was having was initial timing. This motor needed every bit of 28 to 30 degrees of initial timing to sit there and idle. If I gave it any less than that, like say it was at 12 or 14 or even 16 degrees of initial timing, you went to give it gas and it would just backfire through the carburetor. There was something wrong. I kind of started to believe that I did have some kind of a vacuum leak, or wasn't for sure. Maybe it was possibly in the distributor. I did go on some forums and started reading, and many other people had the same problems and issues, but nobody ever gave an end result of what happened, or they just never figured it out. I do believe a lot of people just adjust their initial timing for it, and that's not really the right way to do it. If you have a problem like that, you need to try to figure it out, because you can just cover it up like that, and that's something that I didn't want to do. If you want to run more initial timing, I'm all there. I'm in on that too, because it gives you better throttle response and makes it feel real good out on the street. But if the thing, it won't idle where it needs to idle, first of all, there's a problem and we need to correct it. So what we have here is, this is what I believe to be an old, late 60s, early 70s over-the-counter exchange Z28 intake. And I have an Edelbrock RPM Performer. This one here, the old Z28 intake, is the one I'm going to install on the 400 small block Chevy now. This one I ended up purchasing on Marketplace. When I went and picked it up from the guy, it still had the plugs in here. Those plugs were stuck in there. I could not get them out. So what I ended up doing is I did what I think most people would do. I started heating it up slowly with the torch, and they weren't coming out. So I heated up more with the torch. Well, they still weren't coming out. So I really heated this intake up, and finally they started coming out. I did end up getting the plugs out. Never thought to really check it. Put it on the motor, and I do believe what happened was the intake had warped, and that's what caused my vacuum leak. And why do I think that the intake warped? Well, I took it to work. I put it on a surface plate and set it up on 246 blocks. When I did, the intake rocked significantly. So I think what happened when it warped, it's not allowing one of the corners to seal correctly, even if it's trying to get pulled back down. I think it's just not where it needs to be in mating with the gasket correctly. This one I also took to work, and I put it on 246 blocks on the same surface plate, and I checked it, and I set them both on this China wall here, and this one sat really flat. I was really happy with this one. So I'm going to show you on the Z28 intake what I feel this thing should look like and how it should fit. Now this is with no gaskets on here. The only thing I'm putting is straight down on there. It sits almost completely down on the China wall there. So it's down in there in between the heads right now, and I'm rocking this thing back and forth. There's very little to no movement on this intake. This one fits in here nice and square. It doesn't rock, doesn't move back and forth. I believe that this intake is going to actually take care of my problem. Now let me show you the Edelbrock RPM Performer intake. This is the one that I heated up. I took the plugs out of it. So here we go. We got it in front of the intake. It fits pretty good. Here's the back. That's pretty significant. One might think that, if you use a thick enough gasket, it might take care of the problem. Maybe that's so. I did see that there was gaskets out there 120 thou thick, but the intake is being warped like it is. I believe even trying to pull it back down, it's not going to completely 100% correct the problem. I'd rather just swap out the intake. Maybe later on I'll take this one in and get it milled and have it corrected. But like I said, this is where I believe my vacuum leak was coming from. So we'll swap out the intake, and you know, once we get that on there, we'll get it back up on the engine test stand, and I'll take you guys along with me, so this way you guys can see. It was really important for me to share this video with you guys, because when I was trying to figure out this problem or issue, like I said, there was some information on the on forums and stuff like that when I started doing some searching, but nobody ever gave an end result of what happened. Or there was one guy who said he had to readjust his rocker arms. He had them too tight and the valves weren't shutting. If that's the case, I 100% believe that. I did, prior to taking the motor back down, I did relash all the valves. I made sure they were all good, and that did not help me. At that point is when I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and take the motor down, and that's when I found this problem, this issue with this intake. Inspecting each and every piece, the heads. I didn't know if the heads were warped, but so stick with us in the future, and if you're having this problem or issue, you'll know if this takes care of my problem. Hopefully it'll help you guys out too. Thanks for stopping in.